who, oh, thank you for putting the recording on there. For LTI, this amazing company works with AMC a lot, so they were willing to be a sponsor. So Anna, please introduce yourself, say hi to our group, and tell us a little bit about you and your relationship to AMC, and then we'll get into our interview.
Sure. Thanks, Heather. Well, thanks, Cynthia, for accepting our invitation for this interview. We love it. So you know who I am. I'm Anna Simonian. I'm the here working in sales department at LTI. I'm the president of global sales. And I've had the pleasure of serving AMC and Cynthia's staff and theaters in past 15 years. We are the supplier of xenon lamps for AMC projection booths and the digital projectors. And we have the pleasure of working with Cynthia's extremely talented and experienced staff. And I should say we value that. So knowing the Heather and joining this program for last year or so, I was really impressed with this interview she's conducting with this women and men in the industry that are talented. So I was inspired by that. So I invited Heather to, do an interview with Cynthia Pierce, which I look up to Cynthia. Actually, I learned a lot from Cynthia. She's very professional and her work ethics. So I'm pleased that Heather accepted, and thank you, Heather. Thank you, Cynthia. And here we go.
So
thank you, Anna.
You're welcome.
And for those of you who are kind of new to this, there's a lot of new faces on here. So I'll give you a little background on we before we get into our interview with Cynthia. So we're a nonprofit, a 501c3, and we formed a couple years ago just to sort of be a support group for the women in our industry. And it started out with just let's just get together and figure out what our mission can be. And over time, we've grown, we've evolved. And this speaker series started out as a happy hour because we got together right during during COVID, and we couldn't meet in person. So we started out just getting together socially, drinking, and I was drunk on every call. And then over time, it turned into an actual speaker series. And this format that we have is where we interview our guest speaker for 30 minutes. And then after and it could run a little bit longer because some of these questions, they may have some deep answers for us. Then I open it up to our audience. So if something that Cynthia says inspires you, or you'd like to say hi as they work around the room, please say hi, ask her a question, tell her a little bit about what you do. And if you'd like to introduce yourselves, go ahead and put your contact over in the chat. Let people know who you are. This is a very interactive call. And again, when Anna mentioned Cynthia, I'm familiar with Cynthia, and I was hoping she would agree, that she wouldn't think, oh, this isn't worth my time. So when she accepted, I was so excited. Then I did my pre-interview with her, and I'm like, oh, I love this girl. And on top of it, we have more people that have RSVP'd for Cynthia than anyone so far. So she just upped the bar. So no pressure there, Cynthia. So welcome to Women in Exhibition. And if you haven't joined us yet,
they're doing this thing. I started.
Susie, I'm gonna mute her. We charge $50 to be an individual member. I encourage you guys, if after this call we're inspiration for y'all at all, please join us, womeninexhibition.com. We'd love for you to be a member. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into our questions. Cynthia, let's take us on a little bit of a journey about your upbringing. Where did you grow up? And what was your educational journey like?
Okay, so I grew up in Newport News, Virginia, which is in the Tidewater area, so southeastern on the ocean. So great place to grow up. I am the middle child of 5, but the oldest girl. So I have a lot of those oldest child kind of tendencies. My parents were very supportive of all of us, very supportive of education. But when I look back, I kind of think with 5 kids, and my dad was a corporate pilot, we probably, let's just say I had a very humble upbringing, not a lot of money, but they seem to make things stretch in an amazing way that I look back on now that I'm a parent and really admire. I have 3 children myself, all adults. I have a CPA, a PT, and a software engineer. So I'm hoping that all of those careers continue to be very lucrative, so I can live with them, for 4 months out of the year, Although my middle son says he will cede his time to the other two. So we'll see how that goes. They're great kids. They're not kids, they're adults. But they're people that I would hire if they were not my children. So they're community minded. They're all the things you want your children to be. So very proud of them. 1 3-year-old grandchild and another one on the way in about 3 weeks. So loving that grandparent thing. As far as my education, I graduated from the College of William and Mary with an accounting degree. And AMC, I used my job at AMC to put me through. I paid for my own college and finished in 3 years because I couldn't afford to stay a 4th year, so I had to get it finished. And I credit AMC for that because every dollar that I made, went back into that investment. So yeah, I didn't really do accounting, but it's tangentially.
Did that degree help you? Did that degree help you with AMC, Cynthia? Helping accounting?
Yeah, I think a basic accounting degree is good for any business person.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and growing up with these children and being in with your children, how did they enjoy your working ethic as growing up and being a mom?
They loved it. I mean, they loved what's not to love about hanging around a theater. And because I was in the field for 24 years, they hung around a theater. So at one point I was kind of like, yeah, I think I'm going to look for something else. And they were all like, no, you can't do that. Yeah, you got to stay in theater business.
No.
Yeah. So, and also, being a GM of a theater gives you the opportunity to be like the room mom because your days off are during the week. And there were times when people thought that I didn't work because, I was available during the week. So it was a great job to have for raising children.
Got it. What are some of your favorite hobbies or pastimes, Cynthia?
I love to read. I read for escape, so mostly fiction. And I have the Kindle app on my phone, so anytime I have a few spare minutes, I can get my book out and read it. So I do that quite often. And then, in the last 3 years, I've spent a lot of time with my 3-year-old grandson, and I really, really enjoy seeing life through his eyes, which is, you kind of forget what that's like. So very much enjoying that aspect. And I probably spend the greatest single amount of time when I'm not at work with him, if at all possible.
And is he commercialized? Does he know like the dinosaur? Does he have any of that going on?
He's a dinosaur guy. He's been to, I think 8 movies. He loves going to the movies, and he will ask, well, are we going to IMAX or Dolby? So I got him conditioned for PLF.
No way.
And I'm not kidding.
Wow.
And so I'm creating a moviegoer for the future, and I think we should all be doing that. I'm sure we all are. So yeah, he loves that experience. And, when he sees a movie, a commercial for a movie on TV, he wants to know, when are we going to go see that? So it's kind of cool.
And does he know the difference if he's in a Dolby or a IMAX? Well,
so in most of our locations, Dolby's on one side of the lobby and IMAX is in the other, and he does recognize the logos because I've conditioned him for that. But he generally goes, we go to Town Center a lot, so he generally goes right in and goes to one of those auditoriums. So it's pretty funny. I have to, pull him back if we're going to a different house, though. I love it.
It's funny how kids, I remember my daughter, she was familiar, never been to a Starbucks, but knew she wanted to go to Starbucks and get a lemonade. That was something that was in her mind when she was little. That meant she had achieved something. So it's funny how kids will pick up on the logos.
Yes.
There's a time in our interview, Cynthia, where we liked for people to take us back to a pivotal time in their life. And if they could go back to that one time in your life where something really big happened, what would you say to that Cynthia? So what time of your life is it? And what would you say to reflect back to that Cynthia?
Yes, so my response to this is very tactical. I'm sure other people have really deep, but mine's tactical. And it's the time when I decided to leave the accounting job, which I had taken out of college, and go to a full-time manager's job with AMC, which at the time my parents were just, appalled. They were like, really, you have an accounting degree, you have a great job, but you're going to go back to AMC. And, probably took a little longer to get to a place of financially viable place in my life because of that choice, but I was so much happier in my work life when I look back on the long time that I've been with AMC, so much happier in my work life than I would have been, I think, if I'd stayed in that accounting role. So it's not deep, but it's lasting. I've been with AMC now almost 42 years. And I don't regret the decision at all, but looking back, I can understand where my parents were in the process, but it is what it is. And I think it worked out for me.
And how old were you at that time?
Let's see, when I made that decision, so I graduated 3 years, probably 20.
Okay.
And I already been working with AMC. I got the full-time job when I graduated in accounting, but kept the part-time job because, free movies.
Yeah.
And so in that market that I worked, where I worked, a full-time position came up and I was like, I'll take it. So, and the rest is history.
Very good. Well, let's talk a little bit about your work history. I'd like to understand a little bit about, now, obviously told us you're in accounting, and about your role now with AMC. This is like the heavy part of the conversation. We want to know a little bit about going from accounting into this role, and then what are your responsibilities and, like, don't like, give us a little meat here.
Sure. Well, so first to just correct my title, I'm actually the SVP of Design and Construction, Facilities, and Sight and Sound. So 3 disciplines.
Wow.
All historically male dominated, and AMC is historically a male dominated company. So as a side note to that, but equally important to me, I'm also the executive sponsor of the Women's Council in our DEI, of our DEI council. So very obviously near and dear to me is advocating for women in the workplace, and that executive sponsor role allows me to do that. So came into this role. If you looked at my resume, you might say, well, I'm not sure she's completely qualified for this. And actually, when I was offered the role, I kind of said, me, kind of looked over my shoulder. And, but if I step back on my career, so 24 years in the field, and when you're in the field and you're running a building, you are managing the facility, you're managing vendors. We were very hands-on, still are today, hands-on in the booth. I left as the digital transition was starting. So, it was all about 35 and 70. And I think I could still try to project her today. But, managed, when I left, I was managing Lynn Haven 18. So very busy theater with a big staff. And so what I learned there in terms of motivating people, setting a good example, all of those things set me up for the next role, which was coming to the Theater Support Center here in, at that time was downtown Kansas City, as the director of training. Spent 4 years doing that, which kind of gave me a front row seat for everything that we were doing in terms of innovation. And, we rolled out dine-in theaters at that time. There's just so many things that I was able to do in that role. The next thing I did was vice president of operations. And the story behind that is I got offered a director of operations position. And those of you who are familiar with AMC and kind of the way we're structured, in that director role, I was not going to be at the table for the same sorts of things that I was accustomed to being part of in the training director position. So I basically said, look, I appreciate that you think that you'd like me to come over to operations, but I'm not coming over as a director. I love what I do in training. I'm going to be a director. I want to stay here. But if, and I kind of jokingly said, if you make me a vice president, I'll go in a second. Like, you got me at hello, but I need to be a vice president. Thinking nothing would come of that but again, it's always good when you're happy with what you're doing. You don't worry as much about what they're offering you. And a few weeks later, they called me and said, we'd like to offer you the position of vice president of operations. Woohoo! And
you
so
asked,
4 years, yeah, exactly. So lesson learned there. So did that for 4 years, and learned a lot about getting results through others, leveraging other people's knowledge, skills, and abilities to get things done. Really honed my ability to delegate, and all those things kind of roll up into the job I do today. Well, some of you have worked with me in different capacities. I'm not the subject matter expert for sight and sound. I don't have a construction background. I don't have the facilities expertise, but I manage very, very talented and capable people who can do those things. And so I don't need to be the subject matter expert. Just need to make sure that the people who are helping are. So
I love it. That says a lot.
yeah. So, and the nice thing about AMC is you have opportunities to do things that you on paper might not look like you're suited to. So lots of opportunities to step outside comfort zones, which I appreciate.
Well, that does lead right into that next question is how would you describe your leadership style and how do you motivate your team? So delve down a little bit about what would you say is your leadership style?
Yeah. So if I had, my first thought on this was, well, we should ask my team. But if I just had to say one word, I would say empowering. Like, I think the key to success for me has been recognizing what talents people have and what they bring to the table, and empowering them to make good decisions and, help to guide what's happening on our team. I hope they feel that. And that's like, I encourage respectful challenge. They challenge me all the time. I challenge them. I think we're comfortable with that. And I think it works for us. Maintaining an open dialogue. For me, listening more than I talk, which is funny in this type of environment, but at work, really listening to what they're trying to say and not having to be the loudest or the most talkative person at the table, which is not always intuitive in business, I think. Yeah. I've grown this over time. I was not always, as insightful as I am today, but I think I've kind of honed that over time. And I'm really grateful to them for their patience, because I ask a lot of questions, and any one of them would tell you I sometimes ask the same question more than once. But that's helped me to learn, and their patience with me, I don't take that for granted. So it's great to work with good people.
Yeah, I did have a couple people that I know that work with your company. When I saw that they RSVP'd, I said, "Hey, thank you. Look forward to seeing you." And they said that you're one of their favorite people. So I thought, oh, good. So clearly, you're
very kind.
Like that. So what are some of the current challenges in exhibition that you perceive in this industry?
I think the biggest challenge is just for all of us is just getting butts in the seats. You've got to get people off the couch and into the theater. Which is, it's not just content. I mean, I know the mantra right now is we need more content, we need more content. And sure, we'd love to have more content. We'll take it. But that's not the only thing. I think we need to make coming to the theaters an attractive, more attractive than putting your pajamas on and curling up on the couch and streaming something. So, and by the way, doing that in a financially stressful time when we're still recovering from COVID. We're still trying to get things done, but on limited budgets. It's tough. But I think if we just focus on what's it going to take to get a guest to come into the theater rather than stay home, that's where our success will come. And I think movie going is not dead, so we just continue to plug away at that.
I love it. So how would you approach, or how do you approach the relationships between the studios, distributors, and other key stakeholders in our industry?
Yeah, so my studio interactions, they're not as much fun as Elizabeth's. Well, that's very rude for any of you who are part of my studio interactions, but mine are more, they're more tactical. Like, it's for my team, and especially on the sight and sound side, it's really about, the conversations are about how do we present content in the way that it's intended to be presented. And so it's really more about how are we delivering the content, and that takes a lot of different forms. I'm on the tech committee for NATO. I'm on the board for DC. So there are ways that I have the ability to be part of decision-making or maybe influence decisions on an industry level. But really for me, it's just, I've made a lot of good friends and I have a lot of great colleagues in all of the relationships. So, I manage the Dolby relationship, the IMAX relationship, we have a relationship with Barco, everybody probably on this call in some form or fashion has a relationship with AMC. And, I try to represent AMC, ethically. And at the end of the day, I want to be kind and dependable. And, those are personal things that I want to project to the people with whom I work. And hopefully that translates, kind of in the larger role, to the work that I'm trying to do. So it's really just, I value relationships, and I try to make sure that people feel valued in whatever role they're acting with me in.
And they can reach out to you if they need to, because it sounds like you make yourself available to people within the industry.
Yeah, I think so.
So you mentioned a lot of technology, so that does lead into the next question. Is there any emerging technologies or experiences that are coming into this marketplace that you see revolutionary?
Well, it's funny because just coming off of CinemaCon, obviously, that's one of the advantages of that week, is getting to see, what's out there, and trying to figure out like what's the next big thing, and which things won't get traction. I think it's hard for anybody who has a new technology today, because again, in the financial environment that we're in as an industry, it's just harder to commit capital dollars. So, AMC is big on innovation. We try a lot of things. We're, always looking for the better mousetrap, always trying to make the right decisions without a crystal ball. Wish we had that crystal ball. But at the end of the day, you got to make choices about how you're going to deploy your funds and your people to chase something. So always excited to see what's coming up. May not always make the right decisions about what we're going to go after, but we're certainly trying to do that.
And as you know, my struggles now that I've been with LG is trying to talk to the cinemas about putting in direct view. And it's been, the question mark, the interest, but the price has been, caused a challenge. And something you had said to me on the phone the other day was, you guys are spending your time and focus on the things that kind of are necessary versus the kind of pie in the sky because you have to. And, companies like ours have to just sit back and go, well, it's that interesting time for a technology company wanting to go out there and bring something that's expensive to the industry.
Yeah. And I think,
We're still coming at it.
Mark and I love, new toys. Mark Latimer, because we see this more on the sight and sound side than the other two pieces of my job. And we wish we could try everything. But sometimes you lead and sometimes you follow. And it's, again, we may not always make the best decision, but it's the best decision in the moment.
And I don't think I asked you this the other day. Is there anything that you brought in that you kind of didn't sit well and you're like, I wish I hadn't done that? Or is there anything remarkable that you did? You're like, that was the best move we've done. Well,
I'm not going to answer either one of those questions because I may accidentally offend someone.
Okay.
No matter how I answer that question, someone's going to be offended. So if it's okay with you, I'm going to pass on that one. So
we'll move on. Okay. But let's go to this one. Is there a commonly held belief in this industry that you don't agree with?
Yeah. A big one is, movie going today ain't what it used to be. And my answer to that is, well, thank goodness. Like, it's better than it used to be. And it just aggravates the heck out of me when people say that. Look, every aspect is better. The content's better. It's made by a more diverse group of creative people, which results in more diverse content, which is better for our guests. That's just on the content side. There's better access to the movies. I mean, people complain that movie going is expensive, but it's still the least expensive out of home entertainment experience. So I think more people are able to go to the movies. I think generally speaking, and deferred maintenance because of the current position we're all in, notwithstanding, the facilities are better, the sight and sound's better. There's a bigger variety of formats and concepts. You want 4D, you got 4D. You want ScreenX, you got ScreenX. You want Dolby, you have Dolby. There's just so many options out there for how you see a movie. Again, all in an attempt to get people excited about coming out their house, doing that. There's more food options. I mean, who would have ever thought you'd serve sushi in a theater?
Right.
I'm not sure you should, but I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
who would have thought you could do that? It's just more experiential. It's all better than it was. I don't understand people that lament, that it used to be better.
Got it. I love that. So looking ahead, what is your long-term vision for this industry, and what is your role contributing to that vision?
Well, I'm hoping, of course, that movie going will recover, that the box office will get back to, something closer to 11, 12 would be better, $1 billion. And that will afford us the opportunity to go back to kind of pre-COVID investments, try more things, move faster on capital projects. All those things are important, and that we can call it recovered.
It's more fun when you have money to spend, right?
Oh my gosh, so much more fun. And I say that to my team a lot.
I mean, I know.
Sorry, go ahead.
I like when I would go to the grocery store, it's more fun to go when you have money.
Yes, exactly. And, at the end of the day, those projects are all, between the three disciplines that I oversee, we're part of all of that capital investment in some form or fashion. So, in terms of responsibility for delivering it, we're the ones that'll make it happen when the purse strings are loosened a bit. We were making it happening now, but it's making it happen on a shoestring.
And it just shows a testament. You guys still keep doing it.
Yeah.
This is the fun part of the interview where we start to ask some really fun questions. I hope you think they're fun, but let's kind of rapid fire through these. Okay, Cynthia,
Sure.
If you could take 3 people to dinner, dead or alive, who would you take and why?
Okay, so this is one that, when we talked last week, I didn't have an answer for. So I've given this a lot of serious thought. So the number 1 person is Taylor Swift. Number 1, I'd want to know, and I wasn't sure, am I having 3 separate dinners or all together, but I don't think it matters. But I want to tell her thanks for 2023. So that's number 1. But I also really want to sit down with her and ask her, who are you writing about in these 31 songs from Tortured Poet Department? Because I spent the whole weekend trying to figure it out for myself.
I love her Easter eggs.
But I'd like to know that from her. The second one, and by the way, not in any particular order, well, maybe Taylor first. The second one is Walt Disney. I'm a huge Disney fan. And so the ability to ask him some questions or, get to know kind of what he's thinking. My only concern about that is everything about him would come from, his place in history. And I worry a little bit that after talking to him a little bit, I might have to cancel him. And I don't really want to have to do that. So there's the downside of that one. And then the last 2, I have 4 actually, because I have Oprah Winfrey, because who wouldn't want to have dinner with Oprah Winfrey and be motivated by her? And then Barack Obama. I have a whole list of questions I'd ask him if I could get him. So I think they'd all 4 be fine together. But I would also be good with 4 separate dinners. And I hope they buy, because they can all afford to. So.
Oprah, maybe you'll get a car. You get a car.
Yeah, there you go. I'll take it.
That's awesome. Good answer. Okay, so what do you consider the most interesting aspect of your personality or background?
This one was tough for me because I don't think I'm particularly interesting. I'm kind of, just a regular person. But I'm very, very disciplined. So I haven't missed a day of exercise in almost 10 years. I'm like 3 months short of 10 years. And I mean that like intentional exercise, not incidental, like real stuff. Even on the day I had surgery and the day after I had surgery, because there's always a way. And I don't ever skip a day, because I'm worried if I skip a day, I'll skip 2 and then 3 and then 4 and then it's all over. So that's obviously something not everyone does. And I get up every morning with the good Cynthia and the bad Cynthia going, yeah, you know what? Like, people don't do this. You don't have to get up this morning and do this, but I still make myself do it. So pretty proud of that. But if you think that I'm super disciplined and I have a lot of self-control, let me just tell you that the other side of that coin is I can't walk past a donut without eating it. So there you have it.
Trying to walk off the donut every day. I love it.
Yeah, exactly.
I
You
think
can't walk away
it's
from a donut.
inspirational.
Yeah.
I think I told you maybe earlier, I just started walking again. I walk like 3 to 5 miles almost every day. Almost. I don't go every day. Like I didn't today because I had to get ready for today, but it has been significant. So for those of you who don't know, I've lost 30 pounds doing this shit. So
Yeah,
trying to get to the other Heather, the older Heather.
Yeah.
But I love it. Very inspirational. Yeah. Okay, let's do some more fun questions. Okay. Do you have and I love your mantra, by the way, your favorite quote or mantra that inspires you?
Yeah, this one, I don't even have to give this a second thought. It is from a Jimmy Buffett song, which he probably got from someone else, but still. It's breathe in, breathe out, and move on. And if I got a tattoo, I'd put it right here on my arm. I don't have any tattoos, but if I did, and I think about that quite often. It's my version of count to 10 backwards. And I believe it's helped me manage lots of things in my life. Yeah.
I like that you said that, and I thought about it the rest of the day. So I was like, you know what? I like it. Everybody else remember that. Breathe in, breathe out, and move on.
And move on. Yep.
Okay, Cynthia, when you see comfort food, what you go to?
Pizza.
Pizza. All right.
I mean, I like donuts too, but pizza.
And how do you unwind after a long day?
Well, I have a lot of those. So I like to watch mindless TV. So no judgment out there, but I actually watch the Kardashians every season.
Kardashians.
Like I just want, like, it's just junk. Like but it's so fun.
Katie's cracking up over here.
So junky TV, like mindless, which sometimes I can talk my husband into, but I could never talk him into the Kardashians. So I like to read, as I mentioned earlier, and I love to sleep, and I try to get 7 hours of sleep a night. So it's not unusual, my poor husband, for me to come in, put my pajamas on, and crawl in bed, and I'm out in like half an hour. So sleep's important, and it's something I love.
I love it. I used to watch Judge Judy. That was my mindless TV.
Oh, there you go.
Learned a lot, actually. Learned a lot about, certain laws. I'm like, Judge Judy.
I learned a lot about, really nothing with Kardashians, but it was fun.
How to put on your, okay.
Exactly.
If you could master any skill, what would it be?
I would learn to play the piano. I've always wanted to do that. Never really had the patience, but if I could master a skill, would be fun.
I like it. Okay. What's the most adventurous experience you've ever had?
So I think we've established I'm not adventurous. I'm not interesting, but I did. So I started running when I moved to Kansas City. I have a dear friend, Dallas, who works with AMC, and she kind of got me into that. By the way, let me just redefine. It's not running, it's slow jogging. So unless you think that I'm super athletic, because I clearly look like I am. But I committed to doing a Disney half marathon in 2014. And so I did a practice run, did the Disney run, and then I've done 4 since then. I'm never doing another one. But if you do have to run, Disney is the way to do it. I will share that my first practice run, so I don't know if any of you are familiar with Disney runs, but the big one is in January, but it's in Florida. So of course it's gorgeous there, but in Kansas in January, it is not gorgeous. It's cold and icy. And that winter of 2014 was particularly both. And so I did my practice run because I had to know I could do 13 miles before I, went to Florida. Did my 13.1 miles on my treadmill. Ugh, got off the treadmill and passed out and hit my head on it.
Oh, wow.
So it was fine. It was fine. I got back up. I was fine. And that never happened again. But yeah, that was not the best way to run 13.1 miles. I do not recommend it.
It's on my bucket list, by the way, doing a marathon.
Yeah. I'm not doing a marathon. 26 miles is too much for me. But
okay, what is your favorite season of the year, Cynthia?
spring. I love green and the renewal. And even if I have to have allergies, I still love spring.
Cool. Okay, what is the most memorable concert that you've ever had?
Well, I'm a big Jimmy Buffett fan. And so I've been to multiple of his, probably the one I had the most, well, his concerts are just fun. And I don't drink and I still have fun at his concerts. I went to one at Wrigley Field in Chicago and it was awesome. You know, and I'm kind of sad to know that I won't go to another concert, but it was fun while it lasted.
You know all the words to all his songs?
I'm not as good as my husband, but I know the words to most of his songs.
Okay, all right. Waking away again. Okay.
Yeah.
What's your favorite animal?
A cat. I love cats in general. I think I shared with you that I have a dog who I love, but I love that dog, not dogs. I don't hate them, but I don't love them. But my cats in general, I love that you need them more than they need you. And, you know, for a mom growing up with people depending on you, having an independent cat is refreshing.
All right. If you could trade jobs with anyone in the world, who would it be?
Okay, so I'm just gonna go back to Taylor Swift because why wouldn't you want to?
Okay.
But just to clarify, not on a concert day because all that singing and running looks exhausting to me.
Yeah.
So I'd rather be on a vacation day.
Got it. Yeah. I did go see her movie twice. I went once at your AMC and then another time with Anna down at my CGV theater. And I the first time I went to see her concert, it was the opening night and all these little girls were there and watching their excitement was so fun. And then the second day, I invited one of my girlfriends whose little girls had already been to the live concert twice and they brought a bunch of the little wristbands and I love that energy. It was very fun to watch her. I was like, this girl is pretty, she's got something, I tell you, she's going places.
Yeah, I was not a Swiftie before, but after the, you know, all that it took and really Mark Latimer did most of the work. I just watched from the sidelines, but just seeing her in action or, you know, understanding more about her work ethic and all that, it's hard not to admire her.
Yep. Okay. What is your favorite movie genre? And is there a favorite film in that genre?
It's probably, but I love anything made by Pixar. My favorite movie is Up. In terms of genre, it would probably be romantic comedy. But I'm not a huge movie fan. I like the money they make, but I'm not a huge fan. Like I don't memorize movie lines and all of that.
I do. Okay. Let's see. What's your favorite movie snack?
Chocolate raisins, not popcorn, but chocolate raisins.
All right. Are you a morning person, a night owl, or do you hit the snooze button?
Definitely a morning person, but I also hit the snooze button. So I wake up between 4 and 4:30, depending on what I have going on. And I plan to hit the snooze button and in that 10 minutes, I kind of think about the day and kind of get started. So it's not like hit it and go back to sleep. But I definitely hit it once.
And I do that thing. It's like the hatch alarm where first the light comes on slowly, it closes, right? And then it goes into the sound and then it gets louder. And it's like, it's kind of cool to wake up with a little bit of light first. I'm kind of digging it.
Yeah.
Okay, Cynthia, when somebody's communicating with you, what do you prefer? Phone call, text, emails? What do you like?
Definitely text because I feel like I have more control over the interaction. So I would actually say text, then email, then phone call.
Probably like a lot of us, we get so many emails. I tell anyone that's in my circle, if you need me, send me a text and say, hey, go read your email because I'm probably buried in something. And I've got my work email with LG and I'm busy on that. And if it's another one, I've got like 4,000 in my Heather Blair 6'4". I'm like, I haven't even read them yet. So if it's important, send me a text.
Yeah. So my family and actually even who I work with, if it's important, they know to send me the text first. It's my family. I was like, if it's an emergency, text me 911 and I'll step out of what I'm doing and call you right away. But if you call me, I'll just silence you. So don't do that.
Isn't it funny who all of us have our Apple Watches now? You'll be in a meeting and your watch will go off. Your watch, excuse me for a second, you step out.
Exactly.
So has anyone ever pulled a prank on you that's memorable?
Oh, people have pulled pranks on me. I'm not a very good prankster, but so, and a lot of those happen at work and quite a few, but most memorable probably was when I was in the theater. Frank O'Hanlon, who's now my VP of facilities, despite the fact that he did this or had a hand in this, they would leave this rubber snake around and I don't like snakes. And so I am I'm opening, I go in the ops room and there's a snake laying on the floor. And I think it's one of their daggone rubber snakes. And I go to reach down and pick it up, and it's not a rubber snake, it's a real snake, which they did not leave for me. So really, in a way, they didn't prank me, except they set me up for it unknowingly. And so I scream, and there, Frank is in the building, and so is our facility manager, Wayne, and they, come running. And it's a whole thing during the day, but again, I blamed them all day long for the fact that this live snake was in our ops room when it really wasn't their fault at all. It's just that they had set me up for it by leaving that plastic snake around. So.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
But he works. He's still a VP for me now, so I can forgive.
Okay, so how many languages do you speak?
One, English. Well, I can read Spanish, and I can understand if someone else, like I can eavesdrop. Because I took 6 years of it, but if you don't use it, you just don't, at least for me, did not retain it. So I would like to do that better.
Duolingo. So Mary Melbacha, who's on
I've
this
heard
call,
that.
she's from Argentina, and she was with me at CinemaCon, and for some reason I kept throwing out Spanish slang and lingo and stuff. She's like, where'd that come from? I said, no say.
Yeah, very good. We can. So, yeah,
Okay.
I'd like to be able to do that better.
When you're angry or frustrated, how do you handle these emotions?
This is easy. I breathe in, breathe out, and move on.
The tax number that we paid in February.
I literally, like, as a mom, I learned to count to 10 backwards. And I don't mean that euphemistically. I mean literally count to 10 backwards. So yeah, that's what I do. I'm not saying I never lose my temper. Not nearly as much today as I used to. I am a big fan of venting, though. Like, if something's happens, and I encourage my team to do that with me. It's like, look, if something's bothering you, just get it out, and then we'll, that's the breathe out, I think, and then we'll move on. Yeah, just take a moment.
And to me, if I've had some alcohol, I get beer muscles. I'm not as much fun about that.
Well,
okay. So this is
one
the
of the
last
reasons
question.
I don't drink.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay. This is the last question before we move on to the audience getting to say hi to you. Cynthia, in the movie about your life, who plays you?
Okay, so this one I also didn't have an answer for you. I think I had a terrible answer for you, but I've been thinking a lot about this one, and I think it's Melissa McCarthy, because I think she would be funny.
Yes.
Not take it too seriously.
Yeah.
I think I could get behind that. I don't know who'd want to watch a movie about my life, but if someone wanted to, I would like her to
breathe
play.
in and breathe out. They would. I love it.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, you guys, now we get time to say hi. So I'm going to randomly call on y'all, so you better be prepared. Heidi, you were one of the first ones on here. So I'm going to grab you, Heidi Giles.
Cynthia has been a mentor, a friend, a coworker, all of those things. She is amazing, and AMC is so lucky to have her. And I just want to thank Cynthia for everything she's done for me and for the other women in this company, especially.
Oh, that's very kind. You're going to make me cry.
Howard Kaidash, I got to call on you, brother.
Oh, no.
He's like, no. You got to unmute yourself, honey. He's saying all this great stuff, and he's muted. Come on, Howie. Oh, you got to unmute. You're still muted.
Yeah, it just gave me the option. Hey, CP, how are you?
I'm well.
Thank you for. I'm all right. I'm all right. So Cynthia's on the board of DCDC, as she mentioned. She's been a big supporter and a confidant. So I'll thank her publicly for that. And then I guess asking a question. I think probably one of the hard things watching you wander around CinemaCon is everyone's after you to sell you something, chasing you down. How do you deal with that over the years, having to give rejection to all these people or manage the influx of everybody saying, come on, if you don't buy, I'm going to go out of business. I need your help. Or, I've done all this for you. I think that would be a stressful part of your job. And I wonder how you contend with that.
Yeah, thanks for asking, and thanks for the kind words, Howard. Yeah, so practice makes perfect. I think, Well, first of all, when someone is trying to sell me something, I recognize that that is their job and that is meaningful to them because that's their livelihood. And I respect that and admire that. But at the end of the day, when we're back comparing notes about what the opportunities are, what's right for AMC is kind of the true north for us. And so, weighing the pros and the cons and really, thinking about if it were my money, how would I spend it? Kind of helps you get there in terms of the decision. And then, I think I'm much better at, I hope, delivering we're not going to pursue this in a respectful manner that keeps the door open, because something you don't pursue today might look different, in a year or two, depending on what consumers want and, what's out there. So you never want to slam the door shut. You want to kind of, not today, but maybe later. And also you never know when someone's going to come up in a different company, in a different, with a different proposition. And you just, want to be respectful of that. Even when you have to say no.
Thank you for the answer. Hopefully that helps everybody else on the call a bit too.
Exactly. Hey, Melissa Boudreau, you usually have a great question. Would you like to say hi to Cynthia? Melissa Boudreau? Nope, we'll move on. Katie Trocoli, would you like to say hi?
Hello, Cynthia, and thank
There we
you
go.
so much. Thank you so much for joining us today and giving us your insights. I don't really have a question. I'm just really enjoying your personality.
Oh,
So I can see
you.
how the people that work with you really like you. That's inspiring for me.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I think it's important to have a sense of humor.
Yeah.
And who doesn't love Taylor Swift? Taylor Swift. Who doesn't love Taylor Swift?
Exactly.
I mean, amazing what she's done.
Yes. Yeah, you gotta
I'm
admire it.
Gotta admire.
Me
Okay,
too.
Alan, I promised that I would call on you because you always have a great question. So go ahead and fire away. What inspired you about Cynthia today?
Well, you did remember that from earlier, that you did say you were going to call on me. So thank you. And thank you again for hosting this. This is always amazing to me. And Cynthia, every one of these seminars always blow me away. But Cynthia, you have an amazing personality. I totally disagree with you when you said that you're not interesting. You're very interesting. You've totally kept us in tune here, this whole thing. But one of the things I wanted, you did mention your grandchild, which I thought was really cool, that you spent a lot of time there. That's important as we reach a certain age in our life. But it made me ask, and I'm going to go somewhere with this, how many times, if at all, have you gone into a photo booth with your grandchild?
Actually, once at a birthday party.
Okay. So just about everyone, and I'm going somewhere with this, just about everyone has gone into a photo booth, either with a grandchild or a friend or something of that nature. And when you mention that the revenue is not available there to do the buying that you want to do, the product that we make, and I'm not selling you here, but I would like to just
See,
pass this
Cynthia,
on
they're
to you.
always trying to sell you something.
I was gonna say this is what it's like to walk through Central Sun.
Well, she did say that she wasn't going to slam the door, so that made me feel much more comfortable going on this. But all kidding aside, we've been trying to go through to AMC. We just haven't been getting to the right people to understand that we could bring millions of dollars in revenue for free to the company, and also we could bring, as you said, butts into the theater through our social media or photo booths. So people take their photos and they promote it to the world on social media that they were in your theater watching a movie. So I thought that I just wanted to mention that. Love the fact that you love Walt Disney and would like to have dinner with him. If you ever go to Disney World, you'll see Our photo booths are there, or Disneyland. We have licenses and agreements with Warner Brothers, Disney, Universal, Sony, promoting new movies in our photo booths. And I can't get to the right people at AMC. So I'm going to leave it there. And hopefully, I'd love to send you an email, maybe that you can connect me with someone, the right person. If that's what I would.
You may certainly do that. I am not just to blow off, but I am not the right person for that. That's not my deal. But if you would like to send an email, I will.
That's all. And I love the fact that you're not going to slam the door in my face, and I hope nobody minded me giving that little speech.
That's what this is for. It's an opportunity for people to connect, Alan. So thank you. I'm going to keep going.
If anyone else wants me to buy something, send me an email.
All right.
Cynthia, I was cheap today. I didn't cost you anything. You're just going to pass me off to someone else that's going to say yes.
Okay. Hollywood, would you like to say hi to Cynthia? You got to say hi to Hollywood. Who wouldn't?
Hello. I don't really have a question for you, but I do want to just thank you for your time and kind of letting us get to know you a little bit better.
Oh, you're very welcome, and thank you.
All right. Michael Cummings, you seem to be kind of fun. Would you like to unmute and say hello?
I would, yeah. So I have a couple, and one's really quick. So are you honestly telling me there's no flavor of donut that you would skip over?
I didn't say that, I don't think.
Okay. Okay.
I can't think of one.
'Cause I'm just thinking like onion and garlic, hard.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah. Okay, you just thought of one. I don't like peas, so don't give me a peas flavored donut. That would be gross.
Yeah.
Let's just say this. I have to date not found a donut that I wouldn't find worthy of eating.
It can be challenging. It can.
Yeah. Yeah.
Secondly,
I'm up for the challenge.
Right. We're fortunate enough to work with some members of your terrific team there, in executing, and you do have a terrific team. Credit to you. Can you give me some tips on when you have to manage people that are either very technical or very creative? How do you meander that path and not stifle them, but still try to keep them a little bit in bounds?
That's a great question. So I ask a lot of questions. Why do you think this is important? What's involved in doing whatever it is they're proposing or whatever they're doing? Sometimes I want to say, why did you do that? But I try to avoid that question because that's kind of off-putting. But to try to get them to a place where we can talk, even though we're on different wavelengths, where we can kind of talk in a way that connects. And that takes time. Like, it's not, and I've had this conversation actually with people that I work with. It's like, look, you can take the direct route, but you may not get where you need to go. If you can take a little more time and go around the long way, it takes longer, and it can be frustrating for someone who's, likes to be direct. But you're more likely to catch them where they are and actually, accomplish something. And I find that the technical people on my team don't always want to talk, they want to do. And most of the time I appreciate that, but they also sometimes don't recognize the downstream impact of the action. So just having that conversation around, the importance of communicating that, or, whatever the crux of the matter is, I think that helps. But again, it takes longer, and I've had to learn that and be intentional about that, over my career. I think I'm better at it today than I used to be.
Thank
Cool.
you. Appreciate that.
Got a couple more questions coming in. So Miriam, would you like to say hi? You usually have something great to say or ask.
Yes, thank you. I was really excited when I actually read about you and the work done, because it's really rare to see a woman that has been in construction operations and all facilities management. So it's exciting to see that, and I'm at awe. I wanted to ask you, what would be your advice for women that are studying in that position or studying in positions of that are heavily male dominated, what would be your advice on how they have to take on that challenge?
So I think for starters, women tend to think that they're not prepared for a role, and they don't give themselves grace. Where, you know, no offense to the men on the call, but I think men are likely to look at a job description and say, I got most of that, so I'm good. And I think women will look at it and say, I have most of it, but not all of it. So I think I won't put myself forward for that. So the first thing is it's not just I got all that, but you probably do have all that. It's stepping back and saying, and looking at it differently in terms of how do I fit that requirement for the job. But also, you don't have to fit every requirement. Nobody fits every requirement of job description. You'll get it when you get in there. You just have to convince people to let you in the door. And that time when I asked, you know, what I just said, look, if you make me a VP, you got me, but I'm not jumping ship for any other role. I didn't expect that to happen. I was the most surprised person when it did happen, but it did teach me that you got to ask for what you want. The worst thing that'll happen is you don't get it, but then you have what you have. But if you don't ask, that's on you. So, you know, I think that's probably
very profound.
And, you know, call people on it. Like I used to try not to act like, I would say, well, I have to act like a man in order to survive in this male dominated environment. And then I got to a point where I was like, well, that's stupid. I'm not male. And I think this is better. I think what I'm doing is better. Whether it was or wasn't is arguable. But I stopped doing that. It's like, I don't have to be like my boss in order to succeed in this role. I can just be me. And again, maybe it took longer because I was being me, but I was happier while I was doing it. So, you know, I just think we just have to feel comfortable with ourselves.
Thank you for that question, Miriam.
Yes,
Mary
thank you.
Reinhardt, you usually have a great question. Would you like to say hi to Cynthia?
I'll say hi, but I actually don't have a question today.
Hello.
But it was just wonderful for you to share the
So
hour,
unusual.
and I know it is very unusual for me. Lots of projects happening, so I just it was nice to just listen and just be today and just be a fly on the wall.
Well, thanks for listening.
Of course.
Excellent. Okay, I'm going to randomly pick on one more person. Thank you. Let's see. I think I saw Ryan in here. Ryan, would you like to say hi to your dear Cynthia? All the way down. Ryan Noonan.
Is that me? Sure. I don't have a question.
You don't.
I'll just say that when I was at
Would you like to
CinemaCon,
say hi.
a couple of weeks ago, meeting with various partners and friends, and some people I knew well and some people I didn't. Cynthia's name came up twice proactively from outside partners or vendors, and it was what a wonderful person she is, how great she is to work with. And it was not surprising at all because it's the exact same comment you're going to find inside AMC. The amount of respect that the company holds Cynthia in is almost unmatched. So it's just a privilege to get to work with her. But to see her here sharing her insights is also awesome.
Thank you, Ryan. Thanks for the kind words.
Thank you, Ryan. We are now at the hour, you guys. So I want to thank everyone for the time they took today to listen to Cynthia. You did not disappoint, as I knew you wouldn't. And I want to tell everyone, thank you for being the best part of We. And I would like to, guys, to encourage y'all to come join us, get to know us a little bit better. So till then, adios, everyone. I'll
real
sit and
quick,
wait till
Heather.
everybody clicks off.
Sorry. Thanks for the
Yes.
invitation, Heather. And thanks, Anna, and for your support, and to all of you for joining. This has been fun.
Yay, good. That's what I wanted.
Thank you.
I wanted you to smile. You're all clicking off. Howie. Hi, Louise.